A true and faithful relation would pass for many years between Dr. John Dee and some spirits, 1659. We are continuing the Wednesday, March 27th operation. The entity said, "Behold, thy ministers cry out unto thee, and send thee word, calling thee Master King. Take heed the city be not built. Take heed the walls of it be not lifted up. And as they were, the messengers of the king made evident before his face that it was against his commodity to have the temple of the Lord built up, to have the city now shapen, to have the walls made strong, because it should hinder his passage into Coelhosyria and the rest." First Esdras, chapter 2, verse 24. Edward Kelly said, "Now the 12, accepted, fall down." Michael continues, "And thy ministers, have they not said unto thee, if this work of the Lord go forward, if the city set down from the heavens may receive a place to set herself in, if the walls and the rampiers of this that was built above should be placed on any place of the world on earth, behold, will it not hinder thy cause? Will it not subvert thy kingdom? Will it not turn thee out of doors? Will it not bring thee to a terrible day before the Lord? Is it not written that that day shall be terrible to Satan and his angels? And wilt thou suffer a door to be opened, wherein it may enter? It behoveth thee, Satan, here to bend thy bow. It behoveth thee now to draw up thy arrows. And if thou intend to plant on earth, that it may grow, time is yet now to weed out this message from above. Do thy messengers give thee warning of these things? Dost thou hold back thy force? When the porters will betray the city, would deliver it into thy hands, would break down the walls before thee, would I say, art thou like to enter, thou that loseth no opportunity? Art thou so negligent? Behold, the doors stand open before thee. Why enterest thou not? Dost thou want fire? Lo, he that betrayeth it hath fire for thee. Yea. Rumor? Behold, he offereth himself a companion. What wouldst thou more unto these things? Thou thou hearest the sayings of thy servants, which say unto thee, O Satan, if this city be built, and the walls erected, thou canst not go into the Holy Land. And lo, hearest thou not them? Neither dost regard this opportunity. Whence art thou so forgetful, O God? Great is thy mercies, and far art thou above the sins of man. And thou not only shuttest up the eyes of the wicked, that they cannot see truth before their face, but the profound, the malice, incite to Satan, that where he should most enter, he misseth that place, and when time serveth him, that he letteth it pass. But so, God, thou givest to whom, and where thou wilt, and even as thou art terrible in justice, so likewise art thou wonderful in mercy. Therefore of thee is no end, there can be added any end. And in the margin, mirabile thy misericordia. And then, this thy great mercy is the cause that this blasphemous rebellion is yet unpunished. This is the cause that Satan misseth his mark, and has become weak. Blasphemous rebellion in the margin. If any man make a pot, an earthen vessel, worketh he not, tempereth he not, to end to make a pot, but lo, when he hath made it, and applieth it to his intent, even if he again destroy it, is he not vain? Do not those that stand by him wonder at him? More marvel is it that when Satan shouteth and hitteth the mark, that he should be blind, yea, so blind, that he knoweth not where to gather up his arrow. But lo, the temple was built, and the city stood, although the work was left off for a while. And he that magnified truth went with glad tidings, neither desiring rich apparel, neither to sit next to the king, but that the city of the Lord might be built, and the name of God might be magnified. So shall it be of the city which the Lord hath set down with his finger, an unsearchable and wonderful truth, the revelation and law of time to come. It shall be built, it shall flourish, it shall stand, it shall endure, it shall be magnified, it shall be spoken of through all the world, and it shall not cease. And in the margin we have Actionem and 3rd Esdras chapter. And if we're referring to Aramea, biblical Hebrew, Lord is, probably a mistranslation. God would probably mean Elohim, and Yahweh would be the word for Lord. So all divinity and God is a noun and verb, to make that simple. But Tetragrammaton never translates as Lord if you're going to actually translate it. So I take issue with that quite often, as you've seen in anything from a graveyard video to something like this. Behold, the King of Kings hath allowed is, and the love of truth is great with him. What hath he to do with kings? Or wherein needeth he the beauty of the earth? Nomine est terra, eo plenitudo ejus. Whosoever therefore sticketh unto truth, it shall be exalted with God, which is the King of Kings, shall be magnified before his counselors, not counselors for warning, but counselors partaking of holy wit, not called counselors in respect of counseling him, but in that they are made privy of the counsel of God. Before these also shall be magnified. Edward Kelly said, for what end saith he all this? And he continues, O ye infidels, and of little faith, which taste of the meat that was hidden from the prophets, which are ever shadowed with the light of heaven, which hath always associated with the holy ministers of God. Wherefore are you so stiff-necked, pleasant in the yoke wherein you are linked, and honorable in the earth that you draw the plough upon? For the Lord followeth, and his angels drive, and the seed that is sown shall be the beginning of glory. Now, even when you have something that people agree is unedited, and you have plenty of inspired teachings mentioned about it and such like that, even if the whole body had been preserved, there's more that can be done with Scripture. It wasn't saying that the prophets were insufficient. It's just that there's more to the mystery. As the Kabbalists talk about, you have these names of God that are like chapters, or even the whole book of Scripture, and whatever its original actually was. And new material circumstances, different psychological circumstances. And by material culture, I would mean, new science comes in and we can say, yes, this applies to this, and, O ye stiff-necked people, why forsake you your visitation, are run astray from your faith, that you were driven in? You make much of the Lords of the earth. Do you delight in her dross, that you were driven in? Do you make much of the Lord of the earth? Do you delight in her dross, that harlot money? Do you give reverence to the king, and stand you in fear to break his laws? Have you a greater Lord than the Lord of heaven and earth? Have you any money or jewels to be compared to his grace? Have you any honor on earth that can stand up against the crown of heaven? Wherewith God crowneth those that are victors? Have you any law sweeter than the pure illuminations, and sweet dew like comforts, the voices and presence of the holy angels? Be mindful, and lift up yourselves, and be not blind, but consider the time of your visitation, and that which you do is the work of a king which is able in power, strength, and majesty to exalt you, to strengthen you, and to make you honorable. But in the end, the visitation, and in the reward of your faithfulness, work not today, and be sorry tomorrow, but lay sorrow aside, and continue your labor, lest peradventure God unhoodwink, and make open the sight of Satan, and so deliver you. Woe, woe be unto them that are delivered, for believe me, their tribulation is great. There is horror and gnashing of teeth. There is misery and vengeance forever. There is horror and the worm of conscience. But two things are to be considered. Here, where the temptation be greater than the resistance, are the resistance more dignified than the rigor of temptation. Behold, the work is great, the labor is also equal unto it. And to fight against the princes of darkness in a set battle requireth great force. The temptations, therefore, that follow you must needs be great. I see, therefore, the temptations surmounteth your strength, and your dignity is not such as can resist against it. For why? Satan striveth not with you, simply for the sin of adultery, for the dregs of fornication, for the covetous desire of money, for the want of charity, or because you are proud. But he striveth, riseth up against you, and tempteth you against the Lord, and against the strength of his truth, whereunto you are elected. Therefore I give sentence, lo, because that temptations have entered into you above your power, and so not much for this subverting as of the work of the Lord intended, and of necessity to be done. Therefore I proceed not against you, but against Satan, and God shall deliver you from your temptations. And this shall be a sign and token that I will hamper and bridle the jaws of the enemy. That is to say, so long as thou, Kelly, art in this flesh, never shall there appear or visibly show himself unto thee any wicked or evil spirit, neither shalt thou be held in pieces, as thou hast been. Whosoever therefore appeareth hereafter is of God, for thy eyes shall be shut up from the wicked object. En intellectu tuo non introabit umbra mortis. And at the margin we have Signuus quo certe esse possumus quo deus satana fronum indiciet nota. But now take heed, thou either perverse or forward, stiff-necked or disobedient. The sin is of thyself, and shall fall upon thee, and thou shalt not be spared as thou hast been. Now watch and gird up yourselves, and do the will of the highest. Prefer and worship truth, that you may also worship. Breaking some of these words apart can lead to different pronunciations. And okay, this word. That you may be also worshipped. Lift up yourselves as the servants of God, and help to bring stones unto the building of this great city, that you may be openers of the gates, that the white horse may enter, and that he that entereth may reward you with honor. And we have in the margin, caveat, Edwards, Kelly, Drinkeps, Dinekept, Veritas, Aquas, Albert, Apocalypse chapter 19b, Nostra Volcatus Magna de. Okay. Greater than you are in the dignity of truth are not amongst mortal men, neither shall there be any amongst mortal men that shall more despise the world than you. Therefore hath God framed one of you as a stiff made also, to bind up the countenance of his work, and to be free from yielding unto Satan, which well understandeth that Satan endeavoureth, and that his ministers cry out against this glorious habitation, which being built, the wicked come not to Quellaceria, neither shall they see the beauty of the Phoenices. When you have read these things, I come again and ponder them well. D said, we read them, and the places of Esdras, one in the second chapter of the third book of Esdras, the other in the third and fourth chapter of the same book. Edward Kelly said, now he is here himself alone. And in the margin we have Parabola de nobis duopus. Michael said, a wood grew up, and the trees were young, and lo, there arose a great tempest from the north, and the seas threw out the air that had subtly stolen himself into them. And the winds were great, and behold, there was one tree which was older than the rest, and had grown longer than that which shot up by him. This tree could not be moved with the wind, but the tree that was young was moved to and fro with the wind, and struck himself oftentimes upon the stiff set tree. The forester came and beheld, and said within himself, the force of this wind is great. See, this young tree beateth himself in pieces against the greater. I will go home, and will bring my ground instruments, and will eradicate him, and I will place him further off. Then, if the winds come, he shall have room to move. But when he came home, the Lord of the wood, seeing him in a readiness with his mattock and his spade, asked him of his going. which told the thing in order to his master. But lo, his master rebuked him, and he said thus, when the winds are not, they increase. They are not hurtful one to the other. Suffer them therefore, when the young tree taketh root, and shall look up unto some years, his roots shall link themselves with and under the roots of the greater. Then though the winds come, they shall not be hurtful one to another, but shall stand so much the more fast, by how much the more they are wrapped together. Yea, when the old tree withereth, he shall be a strength unto him, and shall add unto his age as much as he hath added unto his youth. And he ceased to dig. Be not therefore haled in sunder, neither be you offended at one another. Peradventure reason would set you aside, but God will not. Behold, if you break the yoke that you are in, and run astray, he that erreth shall perish, even so shall he that standeth also be desolate. For why? The driver, angry, continueth not without, but he shall return home, and shall not see the end of the harvest. Love, therefore, one another, and comfort one another. For he that comforteth his brother comforteth himself. And when one is a weary, let the other draw. For why you are men and not yet crowned? The first is paid, so also the 10th. Even so the tree that is grafted beareth fruit sooner than that which groweth of the seed. Notwithstanding, both have their place in the orchard. The night, let that yield unto day, and winter bear rule over summer. Let youth yield unto ripe for years. Solomon saith, it is good that young man that obeyeth the counsel of his elder, in the council house things that they handle are for their commonwealth. Notwithstanding hath his order and degree. Cast your eye upon all things, and you shall have examples. Peter in his vocation preached the same gospel that the rest of the apostles did, but he was greater than the rest, not in respect of his apostleship, nor in respect of feeding, but that God might keep his order, as in the chief amongst them, which preferred Peter first. Thereupon, be not stubborn, but I command you, in the name of him that sent me, and because you have vowed that the one of you did nothing without the other's counsel. Notwithstanding, shall you not be two counselors? Therefore, in things that are to be done, let the doer occupy the superiority. The seer, let him see and look after the doings of him that seeth. For you are but one body in this work. Edward Kelly said he is gone out of sight. And so, okay, well, I'll share what's in the margin. Prometia eo decima, and there's, I don't know, is that like the Big Dipper? It's not quite shaped right. See the whole figure here? In a square, ac, then Peter ordo servandus, vita nostra actor videos, one body. And the if you look at the end of chapter 2 in the Quran has a different sort of doctrine to what we see here Christian-wise, is that the prophets, the messengers of God, those spiritually gifted individuals, we don't invent distinctions between them. Some were messengers, some were exemplary prophets, some were messiahs, some were, Emmanuel's, some are Christ's, some are Lucifer's, although some of those titles are basically the same thing, right? But, we don't discriminate between them. We're not saying that, one is better than the other and that sort of stuff. Further on, which I presume is in March, I don't know, D, that triangle, meaning D, as concerning my letters and business in England, I thought good to counsel what I were best to do with letters to the Queen and others. Michael said, gather out of the book of Enoch the seal and the angel of thy country, deal with him. And in the margin we have Practica. And D said, I found a door in the name due to Britannia, Anno 15. Michael said, thou shalt easily find the truth by their appearing, for one answereth not unto the other's function. Hereby must thou do in all, kingdoms and estates, both how and what thou wilt. That thou hast not is thy own error. Note, understand not well here, when thou wilt have anything to do in the world, in human affairs, seek nothing in Sigillo Aemeth, Enoch, his book, is a worldly book. Veritas in quello imago veritatis in terra homini imago imagine respondit qualistia autem petuntur a quello. He said, I beseech thee, and in the margin we have, it is ascribed to my negligence that I have not the practice of Enoch, his book, Sigillium Aemeth, Liber Enoch. Note this rule. Okay, D said, I beseech you. Michael said, darkness yieldeth unto light. Falsum quod est, veritate malum bono. But note in the book of Enoch, Liber Enoch is in the margin, that there are those that are good. There are those also that are evil. The prince of darkness is evil. Now, the 49th leaf, or the first leaf, or something, is 21, 21, 21, 21, 21. If it's four-sided bit, that's 84 characters, which is the number value of Enoch. And there are other mysteries, a lot of them that are just, anyways. Are those that are good, there are those also that are evil. The prince of darkness is evil. Well, you can use the magical techniques and information or, basic religion stuff towards good or evil. It's up to your beliefs, your intentions, what you're, And those that are evil do stand on his side. But as ministers, give place to those that are good. So do they also. Note, but as concerning the manner how to practice that book, I will gladly hear somewhat. Michael said, Sua sunt, sua decunt. D said, I understand this to be required at his hands that gave us that book. Michael said, Polania te expectat, eo quia est praecessit. D said, as concerning my health